What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, the 3rd of September. Oh man. So markets mostly up today. NASDAQ up good, S&P up. Dow was down a little bit at the close, but it recovered a lot of its losses. It was down over 200 points. I think it was down just fractionally. Here's something. By the way, the fiscal flows are very strong. Still waiting. Remember, September 15th, tax drain, and October 15th, tax drain. So this is a seasonally weak time of the year based on these back-to-back drains, just like we get in April and June, only they're not as big. You know, April is the biggie. We all know that. And it took all the way till July 16th. You know, I've been talking about that. I'm the only guy who tells you the exact day when you hear your friends or your colleagues at work saying, oh, we got to work 3-4 months to pay our taxes. Yeah, Mike Norman tells us the exact day when that's all done. Here's something interesting. So yeah, let me just finish off with that thought. The tax drains, typically they create some weakness in the market seasonally in this period. So, and I've been repeating this, but that's okay because that's how we learn, is through repetition. I would not look at that as the start of any sort of a bearish cycle. I would take that right now as an opportunity to add to your stock holdings. We'll see what happens. Like I keep repeating, we'll see what happens with the tariffs. We'll see what happens when the Fed starts cutting interest rates next year and how much additional fiscal drag is going to come into the picture. But like I always say, I see these numbers every single day. So that is my guidance system. And I rely on that. Those are my instruments. Here's something I want to mention because again, I mean, this plays right into all the hysteria that we hear like every quarter or semi-annually when it comes to the Treasury refunding, right? I mean, the whole concept that a currency issuing nation has to refund, that's just an inapplicable concept. I mean, the only reason why we have these things is because of an artificial construct, which is the debt ceiling. Like we artificially impose or limit the operations of the Treasury by having this stupid rule, which basically goes back to the gold standard days. But here's the thing I want to mention. Yesterday, in one day, Treasury issued $473 billion of securities. In one day, nearly $500 billion. Now, leading up to this period, and I've spoken about this on many videos, I've mocked it many, many times, how we have to sit through this ridiculous hysteria every single time that we got to hear, oh, this is going to be terrible, that interest rates are going to spike, that the stock market's going to crash, that who's going to buy them. They did 400, almost 500 billion yesterday. Not a peep, not a whisper, not a whimper. The 10-year yield was at 422 today. I mean, that is even below the Fed's policy range right now, which is still 4.25 to 4.5. I mean, how long do we have to listen to this shit? It's just, like I always say, it's comical. It is aggravating, but most important, I wanna repeat this because it's very important. This gives us opportunity. I made a lot of comments yesterday about going against stupidity and ignorance. Here we have, and by the way, this was not in the news. This was not in the media. They didn't say, hey, nothing happened. I wonder why. They just ignore it. Everything they do is put out there with a negative spin. It's like what I was talking about yesterday. When the tariffs went on, that was negative. When the tariffs are maybe illegal now and they're going to come off, that's negative. If the government has to refund back to the economy, that's negative. When the Treasury has to do one of these so-called refundings, that's negative. I mean, I got to come up with a new name for refunding because, as you know, I don't say deficit. I say net government transfers. So I got to come up with some new terminology for refunding because it's not a refunding. It's a reserve drain that is allowed now that they raised the debt ceiling. Okay? That's what we're talking about. Because it's kind of complicated because you have the banking system, which is under regulatory mandates, which are imposed by the government, saying like you got to capitalize reserves, you got to capitalize your assets. But in the meantime, we're going to dump all these reserves into the system, but you're going to have to capitalize them. So, and then we put the debt ceiling in place where they're not able to drain some of those. I mean, the whole thing is cockamamie ridiculous. And most people are not going to take the time to try to understand it. I'm trying to explain it to you here. But the term refunding is idiotic. It's completely stupid. What it is permission to drain reserves because the debt ceiling has been lifted. Because they took away that impediment for now, for the next 2 years or something. Permission to drain. Maybe I'll call it that. All right? Every refunding, I might stop calling it a refunding. I'm definitely going to stop calling it a refunding. Maybe the term will be or permission to drain. Like the pool is overflowing. Okay? Too much water is being added in. The pool is overflowing. It's going into the foundation of the house. It threatens the foundation of the house. There's water leaking into the dining room, the living room, the kitchen, the kids' bedrooms, the den. You got to drain some of the water out of the pool or you're going to have problems with your house. All right, how's that analogy? Permission to drain. That's all it is. Nobody says anything about the fact that yesterday they sold nearly $500 billion in one day. I mean, how much longer are you going to listen to this crap? But again, listen to what I'm telling you, that when you hear this stuff, because yesterday I think I said the perfect thing. You may not be interested in being educated about how the monetary system and the economy works. You may not care about MMT. I know some of you post up, really stupid and ridiculous comments about MMT. Sometimes, not all of you, no, very few, but every once in a while. You don't want to learn, that's okay. But I'm giving you one piece of advice. Just go against the stupidity. When you hear stuff like that, you basically don't even have to know whether it's stupid or not. If it's coming from the mainstream media, if it's coming from the financial sector, from these characters on CNBC or Fox Business, no matter what they say, even if you don't even know if it's true or not, or if it's a real understanding or not, even if you don't even know, if you just take a wild guess and you bet against it every time, and you have some patience, and you have some self-control, you're going to make money over time, over a period of time. There's no question about it. You go against stupidity. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. See you tomorrow. Bye.